Okay, this is chapter 3, Transforming Learning with Unique, Powerful Technology. Um, the learning outcomes will be to summarize important research in the science of learning, discuss how technology promotes critical thinking and problem solving, analyzing the meaning and importance of new digital literacies, discuss how technology facilitates communication and collaboration, identify how technology enables multiple expressions of creative thinking, and explain the meaning and importance of digital citizenship. The questions we'll focus on with this lecture are: what are the essential ideas for teachers from research on the science of learning? What are the nets for students in the 21st century student outcomes? And how does computer technology promote unique, powerful, and transformative learning for students and teachers? Well, the types of powerful and transformative learning are have to do really with learning styles too. Transformative learning really works a lot with visual learning, but we also do assess. And I apologize for the slide; it's a little blurry, but it's fine in your book. Assessing information, accessing and assessing information, active collaboration and engagement. And by collaboration, I mean group work, good feedback, and expressing creativity, and that can be done through uh, reflection and or hands-on demonstrative uh, projects such as PowerPoint projects, movies, something like that. Unique, powerful, and transformative. Simply adding computers or technology will not change education. We know that. I've said it before in another lecture. We don't want to use technology for technology's sake. We have to um, use our brains, have good lesson plans, have good ideas, and technology either is going to work with those or not. It says technology can't remake schools, but it can open new possibilities for learning. That is very true, and we'll talk about some ways I can do that. Now, this is going to be probably your first taste of uh, philosophies, educational philosophies, and constructivism is one of them. Constructivist teaching and learning. It's new knowledge and understanding based on what's already known and believed. So the way we do that in education with students of any grade level, we try to draw out from them what they already know. For example, if I'm doing a lesson on aerodynamics, I'm going to ask the kids, number one, have they ever flown in a plane? Many of them will raise their hands, some will not. But the ones that do raise their hands, they already know a little bit about what is going to be going on. But the ones that don't, you ask, you dig a little further. You know, how many of you seen a plane in the sky? You know, how many of you seen a plane turn in the sky? How many of you seen it go up and down in the sky? How many of you seen it in the movies? So you're just trying to draw out prior knowledge from the students, and then you can do some active learning, and that's where they get physically and cognitively. Cognitively just means mentally involved in the learning, and then metacognitive thinking is just a different way to teach students how to learn. And your book um, does a pretty good job of explaining that, and because it's kind of a weird concept. The book says that metacognitive thinking engages students by showing them how to examine their own learning methods through self explanation and self evaluation. So we're really drawing into their own ways to think, possibly their learning styles of how to think about thinking again. As students gain a capacity to question and reflect on their own learning, they are also able to improve their performance using skills and concepts that they've been taught at school. So we're just trying to get them to think a little bit deeper about what they know and how they can use it correctly. So that's what metacognitive thinking is all about. Now, the teaching philosophies, constructivism is one of them, but uh, there are several others out there. Now, behaviorism is what we used to use a lot in education, and that's really akin to everything can be measured. So we do a lecture, uh, drill and practice lecture, also known as drill and kill, because students don't like it, and you give them a test. Simple as that. So they have to memorize and demonstrate and imitate based on some kind of examination instrument. And that's how they get measured for learning. Cognitivism, uh, that's a little bit different. That's more mind over matter type of thing. So learning is influenced by non-observable internal constructs. Internal meaning how does these students internalize what they're learning, and they obviously cognitivism is mental capacity, and they have to internalize all this stuff and struggle with it and make meaning out of it on their own. Uh, Constructivism is every person interprets and constructs their world in their own way. And constructionalism, or not constructionism, is learners build their own knowledge. So that's what we kind of do constructivism and constructionism together nowadays. So we have the students interpret and what they believe to be going on, and then we build on that through constructionism, and we do a thing called scaffolding. Many of you in the college of education will take some philosophy courses, or courses that have a lot of educational philosophy in them, and you'll learn about scaffolding and a guy named Len Vygotsky and how scaffolding works. But it's really building and building and building and building on at the beginning of the prior knowledge that they already have. So there's going to be a lot of we'll talk more about constructivism and constructionism uh, later on in the course, but this is your first little taste of it. We have a thing called teacher-centered and student-centered approaches, and we used to do teacher-centered a lot, and it was hard for the students because it was really just drill and practice, and it's best done in small units of instruction, um, but to a whole group. Seat work by individual students, meaning they do the work in their seat and their desk, and they really don't get up and interact with other students. We don't use technology a lot in this teacher-centered approaches. Discussions focused on factual recall. Well, factual is great, but um, again, it's lecture, quiz, exam, lecture, quiz, exam. Um, Again, assignments, assessments based on worksheets, quizzes, and tests. Now, the student-centered approach is a little bit more natural because we're trying to draw out what they already know through constructivism. And it's real-world problem solving. We try to do real-world type situations, something they can relate to. It can be whole group, small group, one-on-one. Cooperative learning, meaning students might interact with other students in a discussion board or a small group situation. And then discussion, or many will draw a lot of different solutions to the problem. An assessment is based on projects, performance, portfolios, those types of things, reflection, all these other things that we do nowadays. Um, Active methods to engage students well, one-on-one tutoring helps. Um, Having learning groups, inquiry-based learning, where you're going to have them look up things on the internet possibly and inquire about them through the internet. And we talked about metacognitive thinking. And then we talked about technology and constructivist approaches a little bit. And there's a table in your book that you need to read because there will be questions about it on the quiz. So I'm not going to go into that a whole lot. Critical thinking and problem solving. Technology has changed reading and writing, and that's a fact. We don't write that much by hand anymore. We do it all on the computer now. We read most of the stuff on computers. Newspapers and magazines are slowly waning away. They're all becoming online, although you can still buy them in stores. But magazine sections in the stores nowadays are very, very small compared to what they used to be back 10, 20 years ago. Online learning environments develop talents such as problem solvers and critical thinkers. Students can do what they can on paper with online learning environments. They can encounter problems that interest them personally. They can integrate knowledge and technology with academic content. So it doesn't matter what content area you're in education. We have, early childhood, elementary, phys ed, music, tech ed, business ed, all these other different types of content areas. Doesn't matter what the content area is. We can integrate knowledge with technology for any academic content area. The role of feedback. Technology offers rapid self-correcting feedback. Tutoring systems and software are out there. You get text messaging, real-time chats, emails, student participation systems such as the discussion board on Blackboard, or what you're doing now in this online course. And this, although this is a web enhanced, but eventually online type situations. Tablet computers for in-class note-taking, writing, and editing. Calculators, GPS, educational websites, and maps and galleries. I showed you an interactive map last week. Developing digital literacies. That's assessing information, locating and acquiring information, and then assessing or accessing rather information, being able to access, locate, and acquire the information, then be able to assess it correctly, see if it's reliable and useful. That can be hard because what's the first thing we do when you go to a teacher gives you an assignment to write some type of essay or something like that on a particular subject. What's the first place most people are going to go to? Okay, they're going to go to Google. And they're going to look up the subject, and then what's the next place they're going to go to? Probably Wikipedia. Well, Wikipedia is not really a scholarly source because it can be changed and edited at will, and it may not be accurate. So we try to find reliable and useful scholarly information when we do something. A lot of professors at this level will not accept Wikipedia as a source. I certainly don't. But I do like Wikipedia for one reason. If I see something I like and it sounds good, down at the bottom there's going to be resources, and that's where I'm going to go to try to find a little bit harder evidence or harder scholarly articles that's going to help me. So This is a way we develop a good digital literacy, not just by Google and hitting Wikipedia and that's the end of it. You got to do a lot more digging than that. Internet literacy is the same thing. We have information literacy. Um, we use that to identify, understand, and identify what's going on with the information, and then we locate and manipulate that information through our sources. And then internet literacy is literally the skill of doing that correctly, of being able to understand the online information that you've got. Digital media and visual literacy is very simple too. It's just a combination of technical, cognitive, and social skills using media and visual uh, aspects such as movies or PowerPoints or something like that. Tools for teaching digital and media literacies. Well, something we can do is called a web quest, and we'll talk about those later in the semester. You're going to do a web quest as a group project. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, Student design and contributions to classroom websites. A lot of teachers have their own websites, and I would encourage you to do that, and we'll look at some of those later on in the course. They can create their own websites. They can do blogs, all these types of things, multimedia timeline, information alerts, digital dictionary, all this stuff. Probably aware of a lot of these terms, so I'm not going to go into them that deep. Visual learning using technology. We have online simulations and experiments that we can do, particularly in science. We have 3D virtual reality presentations and tours that you can go on, like the Smithsonian Institute or just about anywhere nowadays. Real-time data displays and analysis. There's cameras everywhere. They're showing you what's going on anywhere in the world. Online video clips, YouTube, all that stuff. Photos, charts, graphs, maps, and podcasts, which are video podcasts. And if you aren't aware of what they are, you might want to go to Apple and download iTunes and look at podcasts. There's a lot of video podcasts there on just about any subject you would want to even begin to thinking about. Visual literacy means critically assessing visual presentations, and those can be anything from PowerPoints to movies to videos, whatever. Visual materials increase instructional options for teachers and learning options for students. Well, they're fun and all. It's fun when you're a student, to walk in the classroom and know you're going to be watching a movie that day, which means, in that 15-minute period, you're not going to have to do much but watch. So we try to do things like give students a sheet to fill out while they're watching a video to keep them more engaged in what's going on and less talking and stuff like that. Communicating and collaborating. Technologies that promote communication and collaboration, obviously social networks, social media, Facebook, all that type of stuff. But we also have stuff like you're on now, Facebook, or Blackboard rather. We can also do polls and surveys. We did a survey for this class. If you didn't do it, you better do it quick. I believe it's in the second week, but it's in one of the modules, and you need to do that survey. Collaborative digital storytelling, games, translation software, all these types of things are out there. Website publishing and student-friendly programming languages and environments. Programming languages used to be extremely hard. They were based on binary lingo, which are really just ones and twos, and it's extremely hard to program. It's a lot easier to do now, and it's something we'll look into a little bit later on as well. This notion of active learning. It's also known as discovery learning, learning by doing, inquiry-based learning, and hands-on learning. We did. You're going to be doing the learning styles assignment if you haven't already done it yet, and you're going to see what active learning is and whether you are an active learner or you prefer active learning. A lot of students do like active learning. They'd rather get a subject and discover things for themselves on the internet or build something with their hands, and get their hands dirty. There's new roles for teachers and students in the technology connected classroom. Before, teachers just disseminated information and they became managers of learning activities, and but I'm sorry, they just disseminated information. Now they're becoming managers of learning activities. Students were passive recipients of whatever curriculum was out there for them, but now they're becoming researchers, analyzers, and presenters, and we have to put some of those things into these classrooms because when they go out and get jobs, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be asked to research and analyze things and possibly present. Group work, um, and collaboration in the classroom, a lot of people don't like group work because they claim that they do all the work and the rest of their group doesn't do anything. And a lot of times that's true. Usually the alpha student, the dominant student, is going to be the one doing all the work and the other people just let it slide. And we're going to do group work in here, but I can guarantee you the people that slide are going to get a bad grade because I have safeguards to counterbalance that. So we'll talk about that when we do our first discussion board. But students gain and control responsibility for learning. If you do this correctly, you can make use of everyone's individual strengths. It promotes conceptual thinking, and most importantly, it develops skills and exchange knowledge. And it's something you're going to have to do as students at this level. And when you get jobs, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to communicate and collaborate with people. You're going to have to do that in just about every walk of life, unless you're doing something like, you're an artist or something like that. You're a painter, or you're going to paint by yourself. But I can't think of a whole lot of other jobs where it's just you doing one thing and you don't have to collaborate and communicate with other people. Um, Expressing creativity using technology, writing by students using desktop or laptop computers, obviously can help express creativity. Desktop publishing, making brochures, whatnot, online publishing and classroom projects, design tools, cameras, graphics, photo editing, animation, movie making, and student created podcasts and digital movies. Uh, we will look at ways to make movies a little bit later on. That's a whole nother lecture, but expressing creativity can be done by all these things, and students love to make movies, and they like to fool around with animation, um, by and large. Not all of them do, but most of them do. There's really two views of creativity, and Gardner said creativity is found in the original actions and achievement of historically famous people, and the other one view is creativity is found in original actions and achievement of children and adolescents. Now, what this means is the original actions and achievements of children. So think about the time you first learned to tie your shoes. Okay, that was an achievement for you as a youngster. Okay, every kid goes through that, and it's an original action to them. It's an original achievement to them. So something like that, they learn. Children learn something new every day, something that all children learn. But to them, it's an original action or achievement. So that can foster creativity. Now, can tying your shoes foster creativity? Probably not, but I think you get the point I'm making, that when students learn new things every day and use an educator foster it, it can promote creativity. Now, Papert, Seymour Papert, um, he did a lot of things with robotics and Legos and stuff, and he referred to children as builders. And they had two distinct spheres inside the school and outside of the school, and those influenced everything. And what he found was this Legos and Mindstorms and computers that freed the students to explore within school things that they were exploring outside of school. So he's trying to bridge a little bit the outside and inside influences through computers, and that was what Papert's vision of technology was, and you'll read about that in your book. There's new patterns of electronic communication that enables new communication for teachers and students, and it combines elements of traditional mediated communication and face-to-face, meaning face-to-face lecture. There's also new challenges. It provides new access for speaking, reading, and writing for students. And that's what electronic communication does, be it email, Word documents, PowerPoints, whatever. Okay. Finally, we're going to talk about this last slide, developing digital citizens. Our curriculums must be adapted to ensure students learn to use technology productively, honestly, and safely. Now, with that said, we have to make sure as educators that our teaching promotes this productivity, honesty, and safely. So we want to give them assignments where um, they're going to use technology in the proper way. Um, they have rights and responsibilities. Digital citizens have rights and responsibilities, but that doesn't mean school kids do. There are filtering systems in most schools that you can't go to certain sites. You may experience that, some don't, but I'm sure you had an internet policy at your school where you had to sign a document saying you wouldn't do certain things, and if you did, there were consequences. So you have to promote digital citizenship, and it exists both inside and outside the classroom, and it develops over years. So, if you're stealing music or something like that, which you don't really have to do nowadays, but back a few years ago, if you wanted music, you had to buy it from iTunes, or you could go to a site like LimeWire. I don't know if LimeWire is around anymore, and you know, kind of get pirated music. And there's pirated everything nowadays. You can still pirate a lot of things. So you want to try to discourage students from doing that and help develop them as digital citizens. And you've got to model that behavior by not doing those things yourself. So I want to think about that. That's the end of this lecture. You'll have your quiz along with it, and we'll see you next time.